The return to the Persistence was not easy. Day One's hands shook as he guided himself back to the airlock. Behind him, Velmora remained perfectly still, waiting. The massive being seemed patient, as if it had all the time in the world. Perhaps it did. Once inside, Day One pulled off his helmet. His hair was wet with sweat. His heart was pounding. He had touched something older than most stars, something that remembered the universe when it was young. The communication panel lit up, multiple channels. Bora was not the only one calling now. The main base was trying to reach him. So was the science division. Even the military wanted to know what was happening. He opened the channel to Bora first. Her face appeared on the screen. Her eyes were wide with worry and confusion. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "No, I am fine." "Fine?" "Day One, every sensor in the sector just went crazy. We thought your ship exploded." "What is that thing?" Day One looked at his screen showing the external view. Velmora floated there, dark metal catching the distant starlight. "It calls itself Velmora. It says it is an elder titan." Bora was silent for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who did not know what else to do. Elder titans are myths, stories. They are not real. Tell that to the thing floating outside my ship. Another voice cut into the channel. It was Jiwoo, the head scientist at the base. Her voice was sharp and excited. "Day One, do not move. Do not touch it again. We are analyzing the data your ship sent. The energy readings are incredible. If this is real, if this is actually an elder titan, then we are looking at technology from before recorded history." "Too late," Day One said. "I already touched it. That is why it woke up." Jiwoo made a sound that was half gasp, half groan. "You touched it? Do you have any idea how dangerous that could have been?" "Yes, but I am still alive, so it worked out." Hana's voice joined the channel. She sounded worried but also curious. That was Hana, always wanting to understand how things worked. "Your ship took some electromagnetic damage from the surge. The Persistence is tough, but those systems were never designed for that kind of power."
"Can you still fly?"
Day One checked his controls. Some were dead. Others were flickering, but the main systems were still working. "Yes, it will be rough, but I can fly." "Good, because you need to get out of there. Now." "Why?" Jiwoo answered. "Because every ship in range picked up that energy signature. The Kree, the Vol, the Torum, even species we do not have contact with. They all know something happened in the void margin, and they are coming to investigate." Day One felt his stomach drop. That was bad, very bad. Humans were still new to the galactic community. Other species did not trust them yet. If they found a human with an elder titan, they would have questions. Dangerous questions. But before he could respond, Velmora's voice filled his mind again. The neural implant buzzed with the connection. "You cannot run from this, child species. What has begun cannot be stopped. I must speak with your leaders. There is much you need to know." Day One rubbed his temples. A headache was forming behind his eyes. Talking to an ancient being through his brain was not comfortable. "Like what?" he asked out loud. His crew could hear him, but he did not care. The consuming choir has returned. The name meant nothing to Day One, but the feeling that came with it was terrible. Fear. Ancient fear. The kind of fear that made species build walls and hide in the dark. "What is the consuming choir?" he asked. Velmora was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was heavy with old pain. A mistake. An experiment that went wrong. A hive mind that was meant to connect species in peace. Instead, it consumed them. It turned billions into slaves, all singing the same song, all thinking the same thought. No individuality, no freedom. Just the choir. Day One felt cold. "You fought them before?" "Yes, we defeated them." "Or so we thought. We sealed them away in a prison of dark matter, but the prison is breaking. They are spreading again. I felt them while I slept." Their song growing louder. "That is why I remained dormant. I was waiting for a species strong enough to help me stop them again." "And you think humans are that species?" Day One asked. He almost laughed. Humans were weak compared to most galactic species. They had fewer ships, less advanced technology. They were barely holding their own. "Yes, because you still know how to struggle. The others have forgotten. They rely on old protection, old treaties, old weapons. But you humans, you are new. You are hungry. You still fight when the odds are impossible. That is what we need." Bora's voice came through the speakers. She had been listening to his side of the conversation. Day one, are you talking to that thing? Yes, and it says something bad is coming. Something called the Consuming Choir. There was silence on the channel. Then Jiwoo spoke, her voice quiet and serious. I have heard that name. In old records, very old. From before the current Galactic Council. It was supposed to be a legend. A cautionary tale about shared consciousness experiments. It is not a legend, Velmora said. This time its voice came through the ship's speakers. Everyone could hear it. It is very real. And it is spreading through the outer reaches of your galaxy. Soon it will reach the core worlds. And when it does, your species will have a choice. Join the choir or fight it. Hana whistled softly. Well, that is not good. No kidding, Daewon muttered. Bora took a deep breath. He could hear her thinking through the speakers. She was good at that, seeing the bigger picture, understanding politics and people. If what you say is true, she said to Velmora, then we need to warn the Galactic Council. But they will not believe us. Not without proof. I am your proof, Velmora replied. Bring me before your council. Let me show them what is coming. Let me teach them how to fight again. Daewon looked at his damaged controls, then at the view screen showing Velmora, then at the communication panel where his friends and colleagues were waiting for his decision. He thought about running, just turning the persistence around and flying away. Let someone else deal with ancient beings and galactic threats. He was just a salvage pilot. He found old ships and sold their parts. This was way beyond his job description. But then he remembered why he named his ship the Persistence. Because humans did not give up. They did not run when things got hard. They kept going. They kept trying. Even when it was stupid. Even when it was impossible. Maybe that was why Velmora chose him. Not because he was special, but because he was human. And humans were too stubborn to know when they were supposed to quit. Okay, he said finally. We go to the council, but we do this my way. No sudden moves. No surprises. We play this smart. Agreed, Velmora said. I will follow your lead, child species. You have earned that trust. Daewon started the engine sequence. The Persistence shuddered but held together. Hana's repairs were good. The ship would make it. It always did. As they began the long journey to the council station, Daewon could not shake the feeling that his simple salvage run had just changed the fate of the entire galaxy. For better or worse, he could not say. But there was no going back now. The Elder Titan was awake. The Consuming Choir was coming, and somehow humanity was in the middle of it all. He just hoped they were ready. Daewon had seen many strange things in the void. Dead ships, frozen asteroids, empty stations that once held thousands of lives. But he had never seen anything like this. His salvage ship, the Persistence, moved slowly through the dark space beyond the mapped zones. This area was called the Void Margin. It was where old things came to rest. Dead metal. Broken dreams. Nothing valuable, most people thought. But Daewon always looked where others did not. The scanner beeped. Hana had built this scanner back at the human base. She was the best engineer Daewon knew. The device could find things other scanners missed. Right now it was showing something impossible. What is that? Daewon whispered to himself. On his screen a massive shape appeared. It was huge. Bigger than any ship he had ever seen. Bigger than some moons. The shape was covered in layers of crystal and rock. They looked like barnacles on an old boat, but these were the size of buildings. Some were the size of mountains. The scanner showed more information. These layers were old, very old, millions of years old. Different colors meant different ages. The deepest layer was so ancient that Daewon's scanner could not even measure it properly. But that was not the strangest part. The scanner showed something else. A biological signature, something alive, or something that had been alive once. The signal was very weak, like a heartbeat that came only once every 100 years. Daewon checked his records. Every known species had passed through this area. The Kree insect people, the crystal vole, the ancient Torum scholars, all of them had seen this thing. All of them had marked it as dead matter. Not worth investigating, just another piece of space junk. But they were wrong. Daewon could feel it. His communication device crackled. It was Bora from the main base. She worked in diplomacy, but she also kept track of salvage operations. Daewon, what are you doing out there? Your signal is getting weak. I found something, he replied. Something big. The void margin has nothing but garbage. Come back, this is different. Trust me, Bora sighed. She knew Daewon well. When he had a feeling about something, he was usually right. That was why he was still alive when so many other salvage pilots were not. Be careful, she said, and keep your comm open. Day one brought the persistence closer. The massive shape filled his entire view screen. He could see the details now. The barnacles were not random. They had patterns. Each layer had a different pattern, like rings on a tree, but these rings told the story of millions of years. He put on his spacesuit. The suit was old but reliable. Hana had fixed it many times. It had kept him alive in situations where newer suits had failed. I am going outside, he told Bora. What? No, Day One, that is a bad idea. You do not know what that thing is. That is why I need to check it, he said with a small smile. He opened the airlock. The void was silent and cold. His suit lights cut through the darkness. The massive shape was right in front of him. Up close, it looked even stranger. The barnacles glowed faintly. Different colors. Blue, green, purple, gold. Like frozen stars. Day One used his suit's jetpack to move closer. He reached out with his gloved hand. The surface felt cold even through the insulated glove. He pressed his palm against it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. Golden light erupted from beneath his hand. It spread across the surface like lightning. The barnacles began to crack, not breaking apart but opening, like flowers blooming after a long winter. The light grew brighter. Day One tried to pull his hand away, but he could not move. His suit's systems went crazy. Alarms beeped. Numbers scrolled too fast to read. Day One, what is happening? Your readings are... Bora's voice cut off. The communication was dead. The barnacles shattered. They fell away like glass, revealing what was underneath. Metal. But not any metal Day One recognized. It was smooth and dark, but it also seemed to shift colors. Like oil on water. Like the surface of a soap bubble. Beautiful and impossible, the metal formed patterns, segments, plates, armor. This was not a ship. This was not a building. This was a body. A living thing, sleeping under all those layers for millions of years, and now it was waking up. The massive form moved, slowly, like a person stretching after a long sleep. Segments unfolded. Parts that had been locked together for ages began to separate. Day One could feel vibrations through his hand, through his suit, through his bones. Then something entered his mind, not words. Not exactly. More like feelings, images, memories that were not his own. He saw civilizations rising from nothing. Great cities built from stone and light. Species he did not recognize working together, building wonders, creating beauty. Then he saw darkness, a spreading shadow, cities falling silent, the wonders crumbling. And through it all, massive beings like the one before him fighting, protecting, sacrificing. The vision stopped. Day One gasped for air. His hand was free. He pushed himself back with his jetpack, putting distance between himself and the massive being. The being was fully awake now. Its form was clear. It looked like a mixture of many things. Part creature, part machine, part something else entirely. It had no face that Day One could see. No eyes. But he knew it was looking at him. A sound filled his helmet. Not through the speakers. Through his neural implant. The device that connected his brain to his ship's systems. The being was using it to communicate. The voice was strange. Ancient. It felt like rocks grinding together. Like stars being born. Like the universe itself speaking. Child species of persistence, the voice said. You woke me when others would not dare. Day One tried to speak, but his throat was dry. He swallowed and tried again. What are you? The being seemed to consider this. I am Velmora. I am what remains of the Elder Titans. The first builders. The first protectors. We made this galaxy safe for young species like yours. Then we realized our mistake. What mistake? Day One asked. We protected too well. The young species never learned to protect themselves. They grew soft. Weak. When we tried to leave, they begged us to stay. When we stayed, they never grew strong. So we chose sleep. We covered ourselves and waited. Waited for a species that still remembered how to struggle, how to persist. Day One's communication device crackled back to life. Bora's voice was panicked. Day One, answer me. We are reading massive energy signatures. What did you do? I'm okay, he said. But you are not going to believe this. He looked at Velmora. The ancient being floated in the void, free from its prison of barnacles and time, and somehow Day One knew his life would never be the same. He had woken something that should have stayed sleeping. Or maybe he had woken exactly what the galaxy needed. Only time would tell which was true. The Galactic Council station floated in neutral space. It was called Kepler's Rest, built on an ancient treaty ground where no species could claim ownership. The station was massive, shaped like a wheel with dozens of spokes reaching toward a central hub. Each spoke housed a different species. Each had their own gravity, atmosphere, and customs. Day One had never been here before. The persistence was not important enough for council business. But now, with Velmora following his ship like a dark moon, the station's security had no choice but to let them approach. Bora met them at the docking bay. She wore her formal diplomatic clothes, a simple black suit that humans favored for important meetings. Her face was calm, but Day One knew her well enough to see the worry in her eyes. "They are not happy," she said as he walked down the ramp. "I did not expect them to be. The Kree are calling this a human trick. The Vol think it is a weapon. The Torum want to study it before we do anything else. Everyone is arguing." Day One looked back at Velmora through the station's viewing window. The Elder Titan remained still exactly where he had asked it to wait. Patient, eternal. Let them argue. Once Velmora speaks, they will understand. Bora shook her head. "I hope you are right. Because if this goes badly, humans will lose what little trust we have built with the other species." They walked through the station's corridors. The architecture changed as they moved from the human section toward the central hub. Gravity shifted. The air felt different. Lights changed color. This place was built for compromise, where different species could meet without giving up their nature. The council chamber was enormous, circular with seats arranged in tiers. Each species had their own section, designed for their comfort. The Kree sat in their hive cluster, hundreds of insect-like beings connected in thought. The Vol crystalline forms hummed with inner light. The Torum scholars sat with their many eyes focused downward, reading and calculating. Humans had the smallest section. Only 50 seats, and half of them were empty. They were the newest members, barely a generation in the council. Some species still voted to remove them every cycle. Day One stood in the center of the chamber. All eyes, sensors, and awareness focused on him. He felt very small, very human, very out of place. The Kree speaker clicked forward. Its voice came through translators, sharp and accusing. "Human Day One, you bring an unidentified entity to neutral space. You claim it is an Elder Titan. The Elder Titans are myth. Children's stories. What game are you playing?" Day One took a breath. Bora had coached him on how to speak to the council. Be respectful but firm. Show confidence but not arrogance. Do not let them bully you. I play no game. I found this being in the void margin. It was dormant, covered in layers millions of years old. When I touched it, it woke. It calls itself Velmora. It says it has information about a threat to all species. A Vol representative pulsed with light. Its voice was like wind chimes. A threat? How convenient. Humans find a mysterious being that warns of danger only humans can help solve. This sounds like manipulation. "We do not seek special treatment," Bora said, standing beside Day One. "We seek to warn you. To help you. If you do not believe us, then at least investigate. Send your scientists. Check our data." A Torum elder raised one of its many limbs. "We have reviewed your data. The energy readings are authentic. The age of the crystalline formations is accurate. But this does not prove the entity is what it claims to be. For all we know, it could be a weapon, a trap, something left behind by a hostile species." The chamber erupted in discussion, species arguing with each other. Some demanded the entity be destroyed. Others wanted it captured for study. A few suggested quarantining the entire region of space where it was found. No one suggested listening to it. Day One felt frustration building in his chest. This was going nowhere. They were so busy being afraid that they could not see the truth right in front of them. Then Velmora spoke. Not through translators, not through communicators. Its voice resonated through the station itself, through the walls, through the floor, through the bones of every being present. Enough. The chamber fell silent. Every being froze. They felt what Day One had felt in the void. The weight of ages. The power of something that had existed before their civilizations were born. You argue like children while your house burns around you. I am Velmora. I am the last of the Elder Titans. We built the foundations of your peace. We cleared the dangers from this galaxy so young species could grow. We sacrificed ourselves so you could thrive. And this is how you repay that sacrifice. With fear, with suspicion, with weakness. The being's presence filled the station. Not physically. It remained outside. But its consciousness touched everything. Everyone. Images flooded the chamber. Not through screens. Through minds. Shared visions of the past. Cities of crystal and light. Beings working together to build wonders. The elder titans moving between worlds, protecting and guiding. Then the visions darkened. A shadow spreading through space. Not physical darkness. Something worse. A void of thought. Of individuality, of choice. The consuming choir. Everyone in the chamber saw it. Planets falling silent. Billions of voices joining the choir. Ships turning against their own species. Entire civilizations converted in days. The horror of losing yourself. Of becoming part of something that did not care about you as an individual. The visions stopped. The council members sat in stunned silence. Some were shaking. Others made sounds of distress in their native languages. The Kree cluster tightened defensively. The Vol dimmed their lights. Even the ancient Torum looked disturbed. That was the past. Velmora continued. We fought the choir, we sealed it away, but the prison is failing. The choir is spreading again. Already 3 systems in the outer reaches have gone silent. Their populations absorbed. Their ships converted. Soon it will reach the core worlds. Soon it will reach you. The Vol representative pulsed weakly. If this is true, then we are already lost. The choir cannot be fought. Not by us, we are not warriors. We are builders, thinkers. We have not fought a real war in thousands of years. Exactly, Velmora said. You have forgotten how to struggle, how to fight when victory seems impossible. But there is one species here that still remembers. One species that never had the luxury of our protection. One species that crawled up from their world through determination alone. All attention turned to the human section. Daewon felt every eye on him. On his species. The weakest. The newest. The ones most other species barely tolerated. Bora stood up. Her voice was clear and strong. We will fight. Not because we want to. Not because we are brave. But because we are too stubborn to give up. That is what humans do. We look at impossible situations and we try anyway. We fail, we get back up. We fail again. We keep going. It is not a good quality. It is often stupid. But it is what we have. The Kree speaker clicked thoughtfully. And what do you propose, human diplomat? Bora looked at Daewon. He nodded. They had discussed this on the journey here. A plan, crazy, dangerous, very human. Give us a chance to prove ourselves. Let us take a small fleet to one of the infected systems. Let us try to free it from the choir. If we fail, then you lose nothing but some humans. If we succeed, then you have proof that the choir can be fought. And you will have a strategy to save the rest of the galaxy. The chamber erupted in discussion again. But this time it was different. This time there was consideration, debate, not just fear. Jiwoo's voice came through Daewon's private comm. She was watching from the human section. I have been working on something, a frequency disruptor, based on the data from Velmora. It might work against the choir's shared consciousness. But it is untested. Untested is better than nothing, Daewon replied quietly. The Taurium elder raised a limb again. We will agree to this test. But with conditions. You will take Kree ships. They are fast and expendable. You will have Vol observers to document what happens. And if you fail, if the choir takes you, we will destroy that entire system to prevent it from spreading further. Bora did not hesitate. Agreed. The vote was called. It was not unanimous. Many species abstained. Some voted against, but enough voted in favor. The motion passed. Humanity had 48 hours to prepare. 48 hours to save a system from the consuming choir. 48 hours to prove that hope was not just a human delusion. As they left the chamber, Daewon felt the weight of what they had just agreed to. An entire system. Billions of lives, all depending on a salvage pilot, a scientist with an untested weapon, and an ancient being that believed humans were special because they were too stupid to quit. He looked at Bora. Did we just volunteer to save the galaxy? She smiled grimly. Yes, but that is very human of us, is it not? Daewon laughed. It was not a happy laugh, but it was genuine. Because she was right. This was exactly the kind of stupid, impossible thing humans did, and somehow they usually survived it. Usually. The fleet assembled faster than anyone expected. 20 Kree hunter ships, sleek and dangerous, built for speed and precision. 5 human frigates, including the Persistence. 3 Vol observation vessels, their crystalline hulls recording everything. And Velamora, massive and ancient, moving alongside them like a guardian. Harmony's End was the target system. It had gone silent 3 weeks ago. 3 billion inhabitants, a mix of species living in peace on 4 habitable worlds. Now they sang only one song. The choir's song. Day One sat in the command chair of the Persistence. Hana worked at the engineering station behind him. She had installed Jiwoo's frequency disruptors on every ship in the fleet. The devices hummed with strange energy. They made Day One's teeth ache. "How long until we reach the system?" he asked. 10 minutes, Hana replied. "The Kree ships are eager. They keep wanting to go faster. Tell them to stay in formation. We go in together or not at all." Jiwoo's voice came through the comm. She was on one of the other human ships monitoring the disruptors. "Day One, I need to warn you. The disruptors are experimental. They might not work at all. Or they might work too well and damage our own neural implants. I have no idea what will happen." "That is encouraging," he said dryly. "I am serious. If things go wrong, shut them down immediately. Better to retreat than lose our minds to the choir." "Understood." Velamora's presence touched his mind. The connection was getting easier. Less painful. Like his brain was adapting to it. "The choir will know we are coming. It has already adapted to standard attacks. It learns quickly, faster than any individual mind. Then we will be unpredictable. That is something humans are good at. Yes, that is why I chose you." The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Harmony's End system appeared before them. It looked normal at first. 4 worlds orbiting a yellow star, stations and satellites in stable orbits, trade routes marked by navigation buoys. But the scanners told a different story. Every ship in the system was active. Thousands of them, all moving in perfect formation, all broadcasting the same signal. A song that was not music. A pattern that was not language. The choir. Hana's face went pale. "There are so many. Our data said 3 billion people. But there are more ships here than 3 billion could crew." "The choir converts ships too," Velmora explained. "Automated vessels, cargo haulers, mining drones. Anything with processing power becomes part of it. The more it consumes, the stronger it grows." The choir fleet turned toward them, moving as one entity. Perfect coordination. No hesitation, no fear. Just purpose. "They outnumber us 20 to 1, the Kree fleet commander said through the comm. His voice was steady despite the odds. "Do we engage or retreat?" Day One looked at the display. 20 to 1. Impossible odds. Exactly the kind of situation humans specialized in. "We engage. Jiwoo, activate the disruptors." The frequency disruptors came online. The sound was terrible. Not loud, but wrong. It vibrated in Day One's skull. Made his vision blur. He gritted his teeth and focused. The choir fleet hesitated. Just for a moment. Their perfect formation wavered. Ships drifted slightly out of sync. "It is working," Jiwoo shouted. "The disruption is breaking their connection." But then the choir adapted. The hesitation stopped. The formation reformed, tighter than before, stronger. The fleet moved forward again, faster now, aggressive. "They learned from it," Velmora said. "The choir always learns. It cannot be defeated with the same trick twice. Then we need a new trick." Day One's mind raced. The disruptors had worked for a moment. That meant the choir could be disrupted. They just needed something it could not adapt to. Something unpredictable. Something crazy an idea formed. A terrible, stupid, very human idea. "Velamora, can you absorb energy from the star?" The ancient being paused. "Yes, but I have not done so in millions of years. The process is dangerous, unstable. If you absorb enough energy, could you release it as a shockwave? Something that would break the choir's connection across the entire system? Theoretically. But the energy required would be enormous. And the release would be uncontrolled. It could destroy me. It could destroy all of us." Hana grabbed Day One's arm. "That is suicide. You are talking about flying an Elder Titan into a star and hoping it does not explode. Do you have a better idea?" She opened her mouth, closed it. She had no answer. The choir fleet was closing, weapons charging. In minutes, they would be in range. The battle would begin, and the small coalition fleet would be overwhelmed. Day One made his choice. He opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, listen carefully. We are going to do something stupid. Velmora is going to dive into the star. When it releases the energy, the shockwave will disrupt the choir's connection. But we need to be ready. The moment that connection breaks, we deploy neural reset beacons. We save as many minds as we can before the choir reconnects. The Kree commander clicked in disbelief. That plan has 1,000 ways to fail. Daewon grinned. Yes, but only one way to succeed. And humans specialize in bad ideas that work. Trust me. There was a long pause. Then the Kree commander laughed. It was a strange sound like wind through dried leaves. Very well, human. We will follow your insane plan. But if we die, I will haunt you in the afterlife. Deal. Velmora began moving toward the star. The massive being accelerated. The choir fleet tried to intercept, but Velmora was faster, stronger, ancient power awakening after eons of sleep. Daewon felt the connection between them stretch. Velmora was moving too far. The link was breaking. But before it did, he felt something from the ancient being, not words, just a feeling. Gratitude, hope, the joy of purpose after endless sleep. Velmora plunged into the star. The sensors went white. Energy readings spiked beyond measurement. The star itself seemed to pulse, responding to the intrusion, to the ancient being drawing power from its core. Then Velmora erupted outward, not destroyed, transformed, covered in stellar fire, radiating energy that made space itself ripple. The shock wave spread from the star, a wave of pure disruption, breaking connections, shattering patterns, forcing individual thought where there had been only the choir. The choir fleet went dark. Ships drifted, confused, lost, 3 billion minds suddenly alone in their own heads again, terrified, disoriented, but free. Now, Daewon shouted. Deploy the beacons! The fleet moved quickly. Neural reset beacons launched from every ship. Thousands of them, spreading through the system. Broadcasting calm. Instructions, help. Teaching the freed minds how to stay separate. How to remember themselves. Jiwoo monitored the results. Her voice shook with emotion. It is working. The minds are stabilizing. They are not rejoining the choir. We did it. We actually did it. Daewon slumped in his chair. His entire body was shaking. Adrenaline wearing off. Reality setting in. They had won. Against impossible odds. Against an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. They had won. Velmora returned from the star. Dimmed now, exhausted, but alive. The connection reformed with Daewon's mind. That was the most irrational plan I have experienced in 4 million years, the ancient being said. It should not have worked. Daewon laughed weakly. But it did. That is the human way. We do not know when to give up. Yes, that is why I chose you. That stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The universe needs more of that. Bora's transmission came through. She was back at the council station, watching everything through the Vol observers' feeds. Daewon, the council is watching. Every species saw what just happened. They cannot deny it now. They cannot hide from the truth. The choir is real, and it can be beaten. What are they saying? He asked. Bora's smile was audible. They are mobilizing. Full fleet, every species. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy is going to war together. Because of you. Because humans showed them it was possible to fight back. Daewon looked around his ship, at Hana, who was already running diagnostics for repairs, at the display showing Jiwoo's ship and the freed system. At the external view where Velmora floated, ancient and eternal. The war had just begun, but for the first time in millions of years the galaxy remembered how to hope, and that Daewon knew was the most powerful weapon of all. 6 months passed. 6 months of war, 6 months of learning to fight again. The galaxy was changing, slowly, painfully, but changing. The Kree developed new tactics. They called it chaos theory. Instead of perfect formations, they moved unpredictably. Random patterns, individual decisions. It made them weaker in some ways, but it made them impossible for the choir to predict. The hive mind could not adapt to true randomness. The Vol learned to sing again, not the song of the choir, their own songs. Ancient melodies from before they became so focused on logic and reason. The songs disrupted the choir's frequency, made it harder for the hive mind to maintain control. Music as a weapon. Beauty as resistance, even the Torum changed. The old scholars remembered their warrior ancestors. They dug into archives thousands of years old. They found battle strategies, fighting techniques, ways of thinking that their peaceful society had forgotten. They became teachers again. But this time they taught survival, and humans, Humans did what humans always did. They improvised. They adapted. They tried ridiculous things that should not work but somehow did. Other species started copying them, started thinking like them, started asking themselves not if something was possible, but how to make it possible. Day One stood on the observation deck of the Persistence. The ship had been upgraded. Hana's work. She had combined human engineering with Elder Titan designs that Velmora shared. The result was something new. Something that had never existed before. A hybrid of old wisdom and new determination. Velmora floated nearby. The ancient being had changed too. It was no longer covered in barnacles. No longer frozen in time. It was active, engaged, teaching, fighting, living again after millions of years of sleep. The connection between them had grown stronger. More natural. Velmora's voice in his mind was familiar now, almost comfortable. "You are troubled, child species," Dewan smiled. Velmora was getting better at reading human emotions. "We have freed 40 systems, but there are hundreds more. The choir keeps spreading. Every time we free one system, it takes 2 more. We are winning battles but losing the war. Yes, that is because we are fighting symptoms, not the source. The choir has a nexus, a central consciousness that coordinates everything. As long as it exists, the choir will continue to spread. You knew about this nexus?" "Yes, but I did not mention it because you were not ready. The galaxy was not ready. Fighting the nexus requires more than weapons. It requires coordination, unity. Every species working together at the exact same moment. That is something this galaxy has never achieved." Daewon thought about the past 6 months. The species working together, learning from each other. The Kree teaching humans about hive tactics, humans teaching Vol about improvisation, Torm sharing ancient knowledge with everyone. Unity was forming, slowly, but it was real. "We are ready now," he said, "or as ready as we will ever be." "Where is the nexus?" Velmora showed him through their connection. A location deep in dark space, far from any star, hidden in the void between galaxies. There, the choir's heart. Destroy it and the hive mind collapses, but reaching it will be nearly impossible. It is protected by thousands of ships, millions of drones, and the nexus itself can defend against any single attack. Then we do not use a single attack. We use everything, every freed system, every ship, every species, all at once. One coordinated strike that the choir cannot adapt to because it is happening everywhere. Velmora was silent. Then Daewon felt something he had never felt from the ancient being before. Surprise, wonder, hope. "You understand. You have learned the lesson. The choir is strong because it is unified, but that unity is also its weakness. It thinks as one, decides as one. If we strike from a million different directions, all with different tactics, all with individual creativity, the choir cannot process it all. Its unity becomes paralysis." Daewon called a meeting. Not just his crew, everyone, the council, military commanders from every species, scientists, engineers, diplomats. They gathered in virtual space. Thousands of beings, millions of voices. All listening, Bora presented the plan. She had become the voice of the coalition. The diplomat who could speak to any species, who understood how to unite without demanding conformity. "We know where the choir's nexus is located. We know it is heavily defended. We know that a conventional attack will fail. So we will not use a conventional attack. We will use every ship, every freed system, every tactic we have learned, all at the same time, coordinated but diverse, united but individual. We will show the choir what true cooperation looks like." Jiwoo added technical details. She had been working with scientists from every species, building better weapons, stronger shields, faster ships. The technology was incredible. A fusion of ideas that no single species could have created alone. Hana explained the logistics. How to move fleets into position without alerting the choir. How to maintain communication across light years. How to coordinate attacks without rigid command structures. It was beautiful. Chaotic but purposeful. Exactly the kind of organized chaos that humans excelled at. The vote was unanimous. Every species agreed. Every system pledged ships. Every freed world offered support. For the first time in galactic history, everyone was truly united. Not because they had to be, but because they chose to be. The final battle came 3 weeks later. Ships appeared from all directions, not in one fleet, in thousands of fleets, each with its own strategy, each approaching differently. Kree ships moving in chaotic swarms, full vessels singing discordant harmonies, Torum craft using ancient battle formations, human ships doing things that made no tactical sense but somehow worked. The choir's defenses activated. Millions of drones, thousands of converted ships, but they moved in perfect formation, perfect coordination, perfect predictability, and that was their downfall. The attacking fleets did not fight the way the choir expected. They improvised. They adapted. They changed tactics mid-battle. The choir tried to learn, tried to adapt, but there were too many variations, too many individual decisions, too many creative solutions to the same problem. Day One led the final push toward the Nexus. The Persistence and Velmora working together, one ship and one ancient being. New and old, stubborn and wise, they punched through the defenses, reached the Nexus, saw it for what it was. It was beautiful in a terrible way, a structure of pure thought, crystallized consciousness, the accumulated minds of billions, all trapped, all forced to sing the same song forever, a prison disguised as unity. I will not destroy it, Velmora said. These minds can be freed, but it requires something I cannot do alone. It requires the one thing the choir was supposed to provide but failed: true connection, true understanding, true cooperation. What do you need? Day One asked. Every ship, every being. Link with me. Share your consciousness. Not to become one, but to show these trapped minds what true diversity looks like. Show them that unity does not require conformity. Day One sent the message. Every ship in the fleet, every freed being. They linked through Velmora, billions of individual minds, all different, all unique, but all connected by choice, by purpose, by hope. The Nexus shattered, not violently, gently, like ice melting in spring. The trapped minds woke, confused, frightened, but free. They remembered themselves, remembered choice, remembered what it meant to be individual. The choir fell silent, not dead, just dissolved, billions of voices returning to billions of beings. The greatest threat the galaxy had faced in millions of years ended not with destruction, but with liberation. The aftermath took months, helping the freed minds adjust, rebuilding what the choir had destroyed, establishing new treaties, new alliances. The Galactic Council reformed, this time with humans holding a permanent seat. Not because they demanded it, but because they had earned it. Velmora chose to remain awake. Bonded to the Persistence, the ship was renamed. No longer just Persistence. Now it was called Persistence Rewarded, a reminder that stubborn hope eventually pays off. Hana became chief engineer of the new hybrid technology division, combining ancient Elder Titan knowledge with modern innovation, creating things that had never existed before, things that made the galaxy stronger. Jiwoo established research institutes on freed worlds, teaching, sharing knowledge, making sure that every species could contribute to the collective understanding without losing their unique perspective. Science became collaboration instead of competition. Bora negotiated treaties that would have been impossible before the war. Species that had been enemies for centuries became partners, not because they suddenly agreed on everything, but because they had learned to value their differences, to see diversity as strength instead of weakness. Day One stood on Earth, his home world. He had not been back since becoming a salvage pilot, had not wanted to return. Too many memories, too much pain, but now it felt right. Velmora had been moved into orbit, not as a ship, as a monument. Students from 1,000 worlds came to see it, to learn the story of how an ancient being and a stubborn human changed everything, to understand that the impossible is just difficult, and the difficult just takes a little longer. The words were carved on Velmora's hull, in every galactic language, a human saying that had become universal truth, a reminder that hope is not naive, persistence is not stubborn.